Hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Carnes, and I'm the Director of Product Design. Welcome to the September edition of the UX Group Conversation. Let's go ahead and dive right into the questions. Looks like the first question is from Anoop, and he is unavailable today. So I'll just go ahead and quickly read it. Looks like great progress on many fronts. This is slide 5, by the way. As we are making substantial changes that we think we will improve performance, do we have any intermediate test results to share around how much performance has already improved? 145 of 259 issues closed. Looks like Tori responded. Tori, do you want to verbalize your comment?
Yeah, so I just wrote here that the main performance impacts that we'll see from this work is being able to remove Bootstrap from the GitLab repository. And that won't happen until all of the Bootstrap components are migrated. So we don't really have intermediate numbers because we really won't see that performance improvement until all of that work is complete. But Tim Zellman, I don't know if he's on the call, or one of our front-end GitLab UI maintainers may be able to speak more towards what performance impacts we're expecting to see.
All right, thank you. Christopher, you have the next question.
Yeah, I know that also on slide 5 that we've had a lot of folks using the GDK and contributing, and just thought I'd ask for some feedback or kind of mini retro to just understand, what the challenges have been or what things have worked well for the team.
Yeah, and Tori, looks like you've already responded to this too. Would you share?
Yeah, of course. So I think the experience has been really good for the design department, the UX department in general. It's gotten a lot of people looking at the application, especially in areas where they may have not seen it already before. So people have had more eyes on different product features that will ultimately help us create issues for UX improvements that we weren't really seeing. And then GDK is a challenge. That's probably the biggest struggle that we have with this work, just getting certain areas of the product set up, and then finding the specific instance of a component in the UI can also be a challenge. But other than that, just working through it and really getting the opportunity to be more familiar with the product in general has been great. And any designer, feel free to speak up for what you've learned or if you want to share.
I see that Mech is on. Mech, I know your team is working on setting up better demo projects, which I think will make a big difference to what Tori just addressed. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. We have a KR to implement a seed data mechanism that's going to be shipped with the GitLab versioning. So that's going on. I saw the progress for this quarter at around 10% or 15%. So we will have project groups and issues and due dates and all that set up. But I heard that the most pain point are the DevOps stages, that very tail end of the process, like secure, correct? And that's probably where we will get to the last. But right now, I think like the plan, create, manage. In the early stages, we should be able to deal with that soon as the demo data is becoming a thing. I'm crossing out the OKRs from our side on implementing this quarter.
Great, thank you. Are there any designers or tech writers or anyone that's been participating in this effort? Any other additional commentary? Are you struggling with anything? Did you find success in any way? I know a lot of you were excited about it, which was really encouraging. All right, silence. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I'll voice a question and then I'll put it into the agenda. On slide 6, you talk about one of the OKRs around design iteration, and that's such an important one. So I wanted to hear you talk about why we focused on that as an OKR this quarter. What do you think we're going to get out of it, and kind of how are we doing so far?
Yeah, thank you, Christy. So this was an effort to, so we have a lot of conversations around what is iteration. And we want to make sure that the product design team in particular is in alignment with that iteration value. But we also needed to think about what does that mean for us? And how do we make sure that we're applying it and thinking about it in the way that's consistent with our value? And so the first step of that, which is what this slide really talks about, is we wanted to understand what our perception was within the organization of how are we doing design iteration? Are we doing it well? Do people get, is the impression that we're doing it well? How often are we doing it? And so it was really interesting to craft a survey and send that out to development teams and the product organization to understand where we are from a perception standpoint. So really for us, we want to increase our frequency and making sure that we are iterating on designs. And what I mean by iterating designs, it's not design change. It's not changes to a design. It is really two factors. Design, like incremental design, which is the ability to break things down into the smallest pieces. But then there's also just iterative design, which is we quickly release something, we get feedback on it, we make changes to that, and then we continue to refine. So this initiative for this OKR is really important because we want to make sure that we're in alignment with the company, but then also that we are consistently applying it across product design.
Is there anything that, because I think developers are probably impacted most by design iteration. Is there anything that the development team could do, any feedback they could give, anything that would be helpful for us, continuing to improve our skills?
Yeah, I think we're making sure that the right people are involved at the right time. We heard this in the survey feedback that, more collaboration is desired. So we heard that from developers, we heard that from product. I'm sure if we would have sent this survey out to product designers or a similar survey out to product designers, we would have heard the same thing. And so it's really just making sure that we're looking out for one another. And do we have, if we're having a synchronous conversation, are the right people in the room? Is everybody involved that needs to be involved? If it's asynchronous, are we tagging or mentioning the right people at the right time? Make sure that it's not too late. So if there's any feedback that the development teams could provide on how we can, better integrate them into our process or how we can be better integrated into theirs, that would be really helpful. Mike Long, it looks like you're typing in a comment. Would you like to verbalize?
Hi. Yeah, I just had a thought. If some groups are maybe applying iteration value more frequently and consistently and more successfully than other groups, have we considered like a iteration trainer or mentor type of thing where some designers support other designers, like a peer mentorship kind of model around iteration?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And part of this OKR is each product designer is submitting an example of where they feel like they have done design iteration. And their manager and myself are reviewing their submission. And right now I'm just trying to get an understanding of where are we at? What is our belief of when we think that we're doing design iteration, and how consistent, how detailed is that? And then I think from that we'll be able to surface some really good examples of, this designer has done this really well. And we would love to emulate that. Or there's different pieces that everyone is contributing to that we would like emulated across the department, which then we can take forward. So right now it's really, what are we doing? What does that look like? And then how do we take those good pieces and make them consistent? All right, any other questions? We've only made it to slide 6.
I'll ask another question since no one else.
Okay.
Slide 18 is about better discovery and navigation to items that matter. So it's talking about the start page in our product, which I think is a really interesting topic. It's a page that I haven't found particularly useful in the past. I think this might be Jackie who's been working on this, but I would love to hear more about what we've learned and what we're thinking on that.
Yeah, Jackie, are you available?
Yes, I'm here. Which side is that, Christy?
18.
Oh, it's 18. Yeah, so right now we have this start page, right, that customers can specify like which of several GitLab pages they see when they first log in. Not too many people use that. It's like, I don't remember, 1% or less. I don't know if anybody's on who remembers that, but that's a tiny number of people. So one thing that we're going to start with right now real quick is to run an experiment where we actually have a little message at the top of your login page in GitLab that says, hey, did you know that you can customize this page? And we're going to see kind of how many people take that bait and reset their start page to a different page. So that'll give us a little bit of information about like who is doing that, which pages they pick, and so on. The next thing is that we've done some research. Our research has been some interviews we did. It's been the SUS research that Catherine did, and it's been just going through issues that customers have created. And there's a lot of feedback that people say like, hey, I've got all this stuff going on in GitLab. I don't know what needs my attention. I don't see a summary of like what's happening. I can't see, for example, like what's the status of all the pipelines that I care about. Besides the to-do page, we don't really help people figure out like what's going on. Like what is their team up to? What's their activity history? How can they get back easily to something that they care about? And so we're really looking into this now in terms of navigation. We think of navigation as being menus, right? But navigation is really the ability to get to the things that you need to get to do your job and to accomplish the tasks you want to accomplish. So we're going to be doing some design iterations where we look at what might be a really useful start page for people and get really fast feedback from some customers to start to define a direction that we might go in or what an MVC might look like. There's a lot more. Did I answer the question? There's a lot more I could say about that probably, but it's a really interesting project.
Yeah, you did answer it, and it is super interesting. And I wasn't quite aware of exactly where we were with things, so that was helpful. Thank you. I think this is going to be a really impactful one.
Okay, Mech, you have the next item.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure we covered it in the slides, but I'll bring it up because before a few weeks ago we had this initiative ongoing. How are the UXers and also tech writing folks working with the product development folks so far? I believe there was a survey sent out by Product Ops, and thank you, Farnoosh, earlier, I think two weeks back. Is it working for you? Is there any areas that you think can be improved? Planning, iteration, breaking down things?
Yeah, I might not be the person with the latest information on this, but I'm aware that we've been actively contributing to the product development workflow. I think Nadia is now part of, I think there's going to be a working group established for what are we going to do with the survey results that Farnoosh and Lori worked on. And then what does the product development workflow, at least the handbook page, look like from or based off of that feedback that we received? The feedback that I have heard so far, and I haven't looked at the survey results, so I'm not the best person for that. But what I've heard in general is some people want it really prescriptive and detailed. And then some people want it very generic and loose so that they can follow a process that makes the most sense for their team. We're going to need to figure out the middle ground for that. Like, how do we be prescriptive enough that we're creating consistency, but allow enough flexibility? I kind of think of it as a 90%, 90 to 10% rule. Like, we need 90% consistency because people move around, they change teams, and we need to be highly efficient. But the 10% flexibility for maybe each stage group, if there's some kind of uniqueness that is only for their particular team. I don't know if Nadia is on the call. She might be able to add some more context to where this is at. Or Lori, if Lori's on the call.
I don't see Nadia or Lori, but I will say I looked at the survey results pretty recently. And what I can say is that research and tech writing had by far the most scathing scores. Product designers were less scathing, but still not thrilled. Development actually had the most positive response to the product development flow. It wasn't super clear to me why, and I did look through the results, but I think this is probably a good forum, a good opportunity, because we have a lot of UXers on to say, hey, if it's not working for you, you got to speak up and propose changes to help it work better for you. Because the whole point is to help us work better together. So Farnoosh does kind of like own the content of the process. She's the DRI for that. But any of us can make proposals for things that we think will make it better. And if you feel like something's missing that's making it difficult for you to collaborate with your cross-functional team, we need to know that. It's not intentional, right? We want everyone to collaborate well with each other, but we don't always know what's happening on a day-to-day basis. So don't be shy, be transparent. That's what we need and want from everybody.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, full transparency, I want to share that. So I think tech writing and software engineering tests are like close friends there. We quality scored really low there as well. So my hunch is that both documentation and end-to-end tests come really late in the game. So I believe that Vinci from quality will be in that working group as well. Thanks for sharing. We'll broadcast broadly as well in our group conversation, and I look forward to collaborate closely with very close with the UX department on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Okay, any other questions? All right, we will call it then. Thank you so much, everybody.